conference of World Wetland Day. This conference is organized by Paryawaran Dakshata Mandal, Satish Pradhan Jnana Sadhana College and Association of Teachers in Biological Sciences. As a tradition, we will be inaugurating this conference by planting a sapling. So I request all the dignitaries to come over here for the plantation. I request Kamlesh Pradhan sir. I request all of you to soil the plant.
This is a sapling of Kamini. So it will give fragrance also, and very useful flowers, medicinal value.
Request you to care about this plant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it was Shall we move it? Yeah. Take a
Release the issue of Apna Paryawaran, which is a monthly magazine of Paryawaran Dakshata Mandal. And this is a special issue on World Wetland Day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so just now we have published this magazine of Paryawaran Dakshata Mandal. It is actually one of the, I would say, flagship program or project of Paryawaran Dakshata Mandal. We have been publishing this magazine for past 16 years, almost every month, without any break, except for this pandemic situation. During pandemic, we could not publish a single issue because we know what was the situation and all that. Now, this magazine is specifically made for delivering the information in very simple and usable language with colorful photographs to the people, students, teachers, and laymen in all over Maharashtra. We have got many schools and libraries, public and private libraries, which have tied up for this magazine, and we are getting a good response also. So our main intention is to spread environmental awareness and education at every doorstep. With that intention, we have started publication of this magazine, and this special issue is meant on the occasion of World Wetlands Day. So every year on World Wetlands Day, we take up this particular theme and we invite articles related to the theme and publish this magazine. Thank you very much. I am very much thankful to Jnana Sadhana management, Kamlesh Pradhan ji and Chite sir and Sanjay sir for giving this opportunity to publish this magazine on this occasion. Thank you very much.
पहिले सेलिब्रेट करायचं इंग्लिश मध्ये आपण पर्यावरण तर प्रत्येक वर्ष आम्ही असं ठरवलं की माधवराव चित्र्यांना काही झालं तरी आणायचं कार्यक्रमाला म्हणून एक संबंध महाराष्ट्रमध्ये स्पर्धा घेतली पोस्टर आणि त्याला माधवराव चितळे इथे आलेले त्याला त्याच्या बक्षीस समारंभाला आणि त्यांनी सुंदर भाषण केलं तिथे पहिल्यांदा. म्हणजे गर्ल्स स्कूलच्या वरचा हॉल होता ना, तो एकदम फुल भरलेला होता त्यावेळेला. आणि ते भाषण संपल्यानंतर आम्ही ठाण्यातल्या काही डॉक्टर्सना काही असं बोलवलेलं आणि आम्ही त्या आपलं क्वीन्स हॉटेल आहे ना त्याच्यावरती ते तिथे राहिलं होतं, तिथे बोलवलेलं सगळ्यांना. आता चहा पाण्याच्या कार्यक्रमात ते असं म्हणाले की तुम्हाला माहिती आहे का मला जे बक्षीस त्यांना एक इंटरनॅशनल पुरस्कार मिळाला पाण्याच्या बाबत काम करायला, तो कशासाठी मिळाला. तर मी म्हटलं की सर आम्हाला बाकी डिटेल माहिती आहे, नाव माहिती आहे. तर ते म्हणाले की तो पुरस्कार घेताना एक पूर्ण खाडी फुटलेली होती ना, ती खाडी तिथल्या लोकांनी स्वच्छ केली. युरोपियन कंट्री होता त्यांनी स्वच्छ केली. तर स्वच्छ केल्यानंतर त्याच्यासाठी जे फंड्स क्रिएट केलेले त्या फंड्समध्ये जे फंड्स उरले तर ते प्राईज देतात आता. आणि अट अशी आहे की जो माणूस बक्षीस घेतो त्याने त्या खाडीमध्ये पोहायचं, थंडगार खाडी आहे पोहायचं आणि मग ही शुड बी शुअर दॅट की खाडी स्वच्छ झाली आणि मग त्याने बक्षीस घ्यायचं. तर ते म्हणाले की माझ्या आधी ज्यांना बक्षीस मिळालं ना ते सगळे 80 वर्ष 85 वर्ष असे मोठे लोक होते. त्यामुळे कोणी केलं नव्हतं, पण मी त्यावेळेला बऱ्यापैकी तरुण होतो, म्हणजे 55 वर्षाचा होतो. त्यामुळे मी खाडीत पोहलो असं ते म्हणाले. आणि नंतर त्यांनी विचारलं आलेल्या लोकांना की मला ठाण्याच्या खाडीत कधी पोहायला मिळेल. दॅट वॉज द स्पिरिट ऑफ दिस. म्हणजे 15-16 वर्ष हे सगळं पूल करताना दरवर्षी एक नवीन कॉलेज, त्या कॉलेजच्या मॅनेजमेंटला कन्व्हिन्स कर, तिथल्या प्राध्यापकांना सांग, मुलांना इन्व्हॉल्व कर, शाळेतली मुलं घे, कोणी प्रेझेंट करून त्याला बोलवून घे, फोटो तो फोटो लाव, काय तुला माहिती आहे ती माहिती सांग. हे सगळं मुवमेंट करायचं केवळ एक उद्देश आहे, हे लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचवा. म्हणजे भिवंडीमध्ये त्या रस्त्यावरनं जवळजवळ 1300 शालेय विद्यार्थ्यांची हे निघाले, रॅली निघाले. आणि झेंडा आणि घोषणा कुठली लोकांना विचारलं वाटतं, घोषणा कुठली तर खाडी बचाव. मला असं वाटतं की या सगळ्या मुवमेंटमध्ये तुम्ही खरं म्हणजे सहभागी झालात म्हणून मी सगळ्यात पहिले आपलं काही वर्षापूर्वी माझं तुमच्याशी बोलणं पण झालेलं या विषयावर. तुम्ही सहभागी झालात म्हणून मी पहिल्यांदा तुमचा आभार मानतो. मुलांना आपल्या आपण घेऊन जायला पाहिजे, तर ते करतील ते करतील. आणि त्यांचा म्हणतात मुलगा पुढे येईल स्पिअरहेड करेल आणि काहीतरी करून जाईल. आणि लोक मला अजूनही विचारतात तुम्हाला कॉन्फिडन्स आहे का ठाण्याची खाडी स्वच्छ होईल. तर मी कॉन्फिडेंटली सांगतो की ठाण्याची खाडी एक दिवस नक्की स्वच्छ होईल. आणि तुम्हाला माहिती आहे आता स्वच्छ व्हायला सुरुवात झाली. जवळजवळ 16 युनिट्स उभी राहिली आहेत चारी बाजूला खाडीच्या आणि आपलं सिवेजवरती ट्रीटमेंट व्हायला सुरुवात झाली. आणि सरकार आहे, करप्शन आहे, सगळं जरी धरलं तरी ती प्रत्यक्ष उभी राहिलं तर त्याचा इफेक्ट आहे. दुसरं म्हणजे केमिकल इंडस्ट्री इथं लांब जायला लागली, त्यामुळे केमिकल पोल्युशन जे आहे ते हळूहळू कमी व्हायला लागतं. आणि तिसरं म्हणजे आपला सगळा आपला जो फोर्स आहे आपण म्हणतोय लोकांना, आयडियली असं आहे की खाडी स्वच्छ करायची म्हणजे खाडीमध्ये उतरून काहीच करायचं नाही. गाडी स्वच्छ करायची म्हटल्यावरती लगेच महानगरपालिकेत ठराव पास होतो, मग धावपळ होते, मग काही कोटीचं कंटेनर निघतं, मग आतमध्ये जातात ते चिखल काढतात आणि सांगतात खाडी स्वच्छ जाते. तशी ही खाडी स्वच्छ नाही होणार. तर या खाडीत फक्त टाकायचं, लोकांनी कचरा टाकायचा बंद केला तर ही खाडी स्वच्छ होणार. तो करायचा प्रयत्न आपण सगळेजण घेऊन करावा. म्हणून मला प्रत्येक नवीन कॉलेजला जाऊन म्हणजे सगळे सर तिथे उतरतात प्रत्यक्ष खाडीमध्ये, तुम्हाला घेऊन पण जातील कधी. आम्ही बोटीत मुलांना घेऊन जायचो आणि प्रत्यक्ष दाखवायचं खाडीचं. खाडी घाण आहे असं लोकांना आहे ना डोक्यामध्ये येतं, खाडी छान आहे असं माणसं बोटीमधनं उतरताना म्हणायचे. ही सगळी जी ट्रान्सफॉर्मेशनची प्रोसेस आहे ना, या प्रोसेसमध्ये तुम्ही सगळे आमच्याबरोबर तुमचे प्राध्यापक हे ते सगळ्यांना सगळ्यांना माहिती व्हावं हा आमचा उद्देश आहे खरं म्हणजे त्या कॉन्फरन्सचा दुसरा काही उद्देश नाही आहे. तर टीचर्स असोसिएशन आमच्या बरोबर आहे, काळे सर आणि हे सगळेजण आमच्या बरोबर येतात. सगळ्या कॉलेजेसमध्ये आम्ही पोचतो, त्यांच्या कॉलेजमध्ये बोलवायचा प्रयत्न करतो. काही रिसर्च माइंडेड प्रोफेसर येतात, ते रिसर्च मांडतात. पण अल्टिमेट एम आहे तो फक्त खाडी चांगली आहे लोकांना सांगायचं. आणि खरंच कोणी गेलं नसेल तर नक्की जा. तिकडे पलीकडे ऐरोलीला एक सेंटर आहे आता नवीन उघडलेलं, आणि तो आपलं ते हे केलं ना काय पक्ष्यांचं अभयारण्य, तर सकाळच्या वेळेला काहीतरी जा तिकडे, त्या बोटीत बसा आणि बोटीतनं ते चक्क तुम्हाला घेऊन जातात जिथे फ्लेमिंगो सगळे आलेले आहेत. आणि एक क्षण असा येतो की त्या बोटीच्या आवाजाने सगळे उडतात ना फ्लेमिंगो, तेव्हा डोक्यावर नदी जाताना सगळं आकाश येतं गुलाबी होतं. आयुष्यात एकदा तरी अनुभव घेतला पाहिजे. असं लोक म्हणतात काश्मीरला एकदा गेलं पाहिजे, तसं ठाण्यातल्या प्रत्येकाने एकदा तरी अनुभव घेतला ना तर आयुष्यात कधी तो खाडीला खराब म्हणणार नाही किंवा घाण म्हणणार नाही. खाडीत टाकताना कचरा 2 वेळा थांबेल, समजलं. तर दुसऱ्याला म्हणजे एवढंच नाही, म्हणजे थांबणं ही पहिली प्रक्रिया आहे, म्हणजे काय सुष्टाचं लक्षण आहे. त्याच्या पुढचं जे ऍक्टिव्ह पार्टिसिपेशन आहे दुसरा टाकणारा असेल त्याला थांबवायचं, तिथपर्यंत आपल्याला पोहोचायचं. त्यामुळे मला सगळ्या म्हणजे आपल्या खरं हा प्रोग्राम करू आपण. हा प्रोग्राम झाल्यानंतर सुद्धा तुमच्या क्लासरूममध्ये जाऊन आमच्या जर कार्यकर्त्यांना जर तुम्ही बोलायला दिलं तर जास्त चांगलं. म्हणजे हा मेसेज जो आहे ना तो त्या मुलांपर्यंत पोहोचेल. आणि मला माहिती आहे की मुलांपर्यंत मेसेज पोहोचला की आपोआप बदल होतो सगळं. तुम्ही सगळी संधी आम्हाला मिळून दिली त्याबद्दल म्हणजे सगळ्यात छान आम्हाला.
सर मला एक सांगायचं होतं
बस
की 15-1 वर्षापूर्वी
तुम्ही बसा, तुम्ही माझ्यापेक्षा वेळ नाही.
तुम्ही उभं राहून बोला.
आता होतं ते बसा.
15 वर्षापूर्वी आम्ही चौघं 5 जण ॲरोलीला फ्लेमिंग बघण्याकरता गेलो. आणि छोटीशी बोट, एक त्याच्या खालचा एक सजून काढला एक नारळी आणि छोटीशी बोट आणि गेलो आणि होती म्हणजे बऱ्यापैकी आणि खूप आतमध्ये गेलो आणि रमलो आणि मग इथं आम्हाला ओटी झाली एक बोट पुढे येईल. तुम्ही म्हणता की काही स्वच्छ होती आता, तर 15 वर्षापूर्वी किती चिखला असेल ना, तर आम्हाला येता येईना त्या म्हणजे त्या गुडघावर चिखलामध्ये आम्हाला उतरून चिखलातून आम्हाला पायी त्या चिखलातनं यावं लागलं की आम्ही मला त्या
कर्णिक सर सांगतील तुम्हाला सिल्टिंगचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे. मोठ्या प्रमाणात गाळ खाली आणि तो वाहून जात नाही. त्यामुळे आपल्या खाडीला सगळ्यात म्हणजे आता म्हणतात ना मॅंग्रोव्हचं क्षेत्र वाढलंय, तर ते मॅंग्रोव्हचं क्षेत्र वाढलं हे चांगलं लक्षण नाही आहे. कारण जमिनीवरची गाळच इतका साठला आहे आता की खाडीच्या पाण्याचं चलनवलन नाही ते कमी व्हायला लागतं. कर्णिक सर जास्त चांगलं लक्षण सायंटिस्ट आहेत.
कर्णिक सर सध्या महाराष्ट्र टाइम्समध्ये बाहेरची खाडी या नावाची दर रविवारी त्यांचा एक मोठा लेख असतो आणि अतिशय सुंदर लिखाण आपण make it a point to read it. Maharashtra Times.
Namaskar. Good morning and welcome to all the participants in this conference on wetlands and water organized by Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, ATBS, Satish Pradhan Jnanasadhana College and EnviroVigil. Wetlands are inseparable from water by their definition itself. We boast that India is Sujalam and Sufalam, blessed with abundance of water and fertile land. In most other countries, the situation has not been much different in a century or so in past. Unfortunately, however, our lack of respect towards wetlands has led to a situation forcing us to have a global conference on conservation of water bodies and wetlands. This global convention was organized on 2nd February 1971 at Ramsar city in Iran. To commemorate this day, the world leaders agreed on World Wetlands Day. The Standing Committee has approved the scheme as Wetlands and Water, and we, the organizing committee of this conference, adopted the same title. Under this title, our organizing committee decided to have sub-themes that include climate change, water crisis and wetlands, wetlands and management of freshwater resources, wetlands for health and food sustainability, and economics of sustainable development and conservation of wetlands. The main objective of observing World Wetlands Day, as well as organizing this specific conference, is to spread awareness towards the importance of conservation of freshwater wetlands. As we all are aware, the overexploitation of natural resources world over has ensured the global climate change. This has resulted in unpredictable distribution of precipitation in space, time, and amount. The season cycles have been altered. The frequency and severity of natural catastrophes has increased. Wetlands, being high carbon ecosystems, would help in reducing the carbon overload in the atmosphere. But unfortunately, these are vanishing at an overwhelming speed. In the 20th century itself, the extent of inland freshwater wetlands around the world have declined by about 65%. Conversely, the drainage of and damage of the wetlands, like peatlands, is a major source of greenhouse gases. Wetlands are a source of water for agriculture, aquaculture, dairy, other industries, as well as household. Their conservation can sustain the livelihood of populations around them. If climate change is to be thwarted, if not reversed, it is necessary to restore, conserve, and manage these wetlands. Well managed wetlands provide many ecosystem services like filtration and purification of water, replenishment of groundwater, flood control, sediment and nutrient retention, and supporting biodiversity. This in turn ensures sustained health, food security, as well as socio-economic status of the residents of the surrounding villages as well as cities. The Directory of Asian Wetlands, which is which in 1989 has stated that excluding the rivers, wetlands occupy 18.4% of country's area, of which 70% wetlands are under paddy cultivation. Of the estimated 4.1 million hectares of wetlands in India, 1.5 million hectares are natural, while 2.6 million hectares are man-made. The uncontrolled increase in human population has led to the use of fresh water far in excess of nature's capacity to replenish it. The number of freshwater resources is diminishing because of our indifference and lack of management. This has led to a serious crisis for water, worsening year after year. It is said that if ever a third world war is fought, it would, in all probabilities, be fought for the control of freshwater resources. Although India harbors about 18% of the population of the world, it shares as little as 4% of world's freshwater resources. Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation has issued guidelines for repair, renovation and restoration scheme of water bodies under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchayi Yojana in 2017. When accomplished, this scheme might provide an additional 2.23 lakh hectares of freshwater resources. Under the Atal Bhujal Yojana, which was instated in 2000, the ministry has taken up artificial groundwater recharging. This too is expected to increase availability of fresh water. A national water mission was founded in 2011 to conserve water, minimize its wastage, and assure equitable distribution through the integrated water resources development and management practices. National Water Development Agency, also known as NWDA, of Ministry of Water Resources is coordinating the ambitious Indian River Interlink project. Despite the objections to it, it completed, when completed, it might ensure a better irrigation and drinking water supply besides solving the problem of flooding and drought. Under Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, farm pond schemes have been operative in many states of India to ensure the water supply for agriculture. India claims to have achieved self-sufficiency in food production, though 22% of its population is still below the poverty line. India shares 25% of the agricultural produce of the world, yet it harbors about 25% of the hungry people. Well, based on the Global Hunger Index prepared by International Food Policy Research Institute in 2018, India ranked 103rd in 119 countries. The same report has stated that in 2015, we had about 21% of children under 5 years of age wasted and 38% were stunted. Contrary to this, over 16% of the people are overweight and obese due to overnutrition and overconsumption of calories. This is leading to higher rates of diabetes and other non-communicable diseases, morbidity and mortality, particularly in the urban areas. In rural India, the poverty-induced malnutrition is the major cause of morbidity and mortality. No doubt that these paradoxes are primarily due to the fast-growing population of India. In the middle of January, the population of India has already crossed the figure of 138 crores. However, there seems to be a reason for blaming it on misjudged policies of Government of India. According to the survey of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD as you know it well, and Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations, over the last 2 decades, India has implicitly taxed agriculture at the rate exceeding 14%, largely by keeping food prices low for urban consumers. Due to the lack of integrated program, the remedial steps taken through our successive 5-year economic plans since 1951 failed to actually foresee this, and because of lack of integrated programs, the steps have failed to economically conserve the freshwater ecosystems. More serious efforts are needed to conserve wetlands for sustaining food security, development, as well as well-being in India. Sustainability was the focus of 1992 Earth Summit and has been occupying the central theme in all subsequent environmental studies. Sustainable development is an approach to economic planning that fosters economic growth while preserving the quality of the environment for future generations. Though this concept of sustainable development has been enormously popular since last several decades, it is still difficult to apply, and that is because the success of such sustainable development would take a long time to establish. For example, if you want to grow a forest to provide sustainable yield of timber, it would take tens of decades before you can start getting the income from it. The measures necessary to address environmental problems typically require social and economic hardships to be suffered by the countries that adopt them. Therefore, many countries, particularly in the developing world, are reluctant to enter into environmental treaties. The intergovernmental treaties include financial cooperation, technology transfer, implementation schedules, and obligations. In most agreements, the enforcement is treated as a domestic issue. And to solve this issue, these countries are supposed to allow uh, their own implementation practices and compliance in the best interest of that country. The sustainable development, when we talk about and conservation of freshwater wetlands, this can be integrated using a mix of public policy and economic solutions. This may further be assisted by continued monitoring and education of the population. The environmental educators and activists have been using ecological footprint as the index to raise awareness towards wasteful, unsustainable consumption patterns. They also encourage the change in lifestyles. The practice, such as organic farming, for example, may result in lower yields than otherwise, but they would definitely bring about better ecological benefits in due course of time. In all our agricultural, industrial, energy, transport, recreation, tourism, and many such sectors, appropriate changes, which of course are through the changes in the lifestyle, can help sustain the development. There have been definite steps taken towards conservation of wetlands. The National Wetland Inventory Assessment, which also is termed as NWIA, of the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, was launched in 2010, and this marked the beginning of serious efforts towards conservation of wetlands in India. The National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems, also referred to as NCPA 2013, was made by merging National Lake Conservation Program and the National Wetland Conservation Program under 12th Five-Year Economic Plan. This was done mainly with an idea that a single program would help promote better implementation, better administration, as well as better results, and therefore the two programs were merged. In 2018, the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation launched the Swajal scheme in around 115 rural districts in India to provide clean drinking water under the existing National Rural Drinking Water Program. In 2019, the Union Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat launched the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, aiming to renovate water bodies, minimize wastage of water, regulate the industrial use of water, promote recycling of wastewater, rainwater harvesting, and provide piped water to every household within next 5 years. The guidelines, with several strategic measures to conserve inland as well as coastal wetlands, was released by National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem, the NCPA as we have referred to, of Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change in 2019. Using the satellite data, a nationwide inventory of wetlands and an atlas showing 19 categories of wetlands from states as well as union territories has been prepared by Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO. Over 2 lakh wetlands covering around 4.63% of the total geographical area of the country have been mapped. The concept of wetlands health card has also been introduced. In this, the information about each wetland, including its boundaries, area of influence, ecology, hydrology, fisheries, livelihoods it supports, aesthetic and socio-economic values, the village and cities in the vicinity, and of course the approach roads to the wetlands. So all this is being recorded. The ecosystem services of these wetlands also are being assessed and recorded so that they can be linked with ecology, hydrology, fisheries, and other such practices that the wetlands are supporting. The concessions, regulations for the residents around the freshwater bodies also have been regulated under the strategy 1.4, and an integrated development as well as conservation plan is being generated for these wetlands. There is thus a scope to believe that these conservation efforts will bring fruits in near future, and the freshwater wetlands will see a golden era once again. We hope that our conference is going to provide a few solutions to the problems being faced locally by our country as well as by the world at large. So I hope you will enjoy the proceedings of the conference. Thank you and best of luck.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Today is World Wetlands Day, and on behalf of World Wetlands Day, I am asked to deliver a presentation on wetlands. My name is Dr. Ketan Tatu. Right now, I am speaking from Gujarat. I am working as senior scientist at Gujarat Ecological Education and Research Foundation, and it is located in the capital city of Gujarat, Gandhinagar, and we work a lot on wetlands. Currently, under the state government scheme, we are seasonally monitoring 5 inland freshwater wetlands of Gujarat, including the only Ramsar site of Gujarat, which is Nal Sarovar. In addition to that, we are studying 4 major estuaries of Gujarat. So we are very much into the wetlands. We have a team of researchers, and I'm heading that team. let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am, as I said, I'm Dr. Ketan Tatu, and I have done my PhD in environmental sciences from Gujarat University, and then I did my another PhD from West Virginia University, for which I studied the largest estuary of the United States, that is called Chesapeake Bay. With this brief introduction, let me share my presentation. Please bear with me, it may take some time. Sharing the screen. Share. And I think this is there is a slideshow. Yes, so I hope you are able to see the presentation. Understanding wetlands and their threatened species is my today's topic. I hope you can see my presentation here. So my presentation is divided into two parts, we can say. Initially, I would try to give a kind of explanation, or I would try to share my understanding about wetlands with all of you. So what are wetlands? Wetlands are the areas where the land is covered by shallow water, and that land is usually covered by shallow water through the surface water resource. Right? It can be rainwater, or it can be water from streams or rivers, etc. And it is not necessary that land will always be covered with shallow water. Sometimes you would find that the land is saturated with water, right? So both these conditions are sufficient to categorize a land as wetlands, okay? And again, saturation can take place either through groundwater or through surface water. So wetlands are the areas wherein the water is a primary factor shaping plant and animal communities, okay? So if we consider air, land, and water, wetlands are the area where water plays a dominant role in deciding the communities of plants and animal in that area. There are a number of definitions of wetlands. It is said that only in North America there are 10 different definitions of wetlands, and that is because, you know, if some organization working on soils of wetlands, then they would give the definition emphasizing the soil aspect. If some organization is working on wildlife of wetland, then they would give that kind of definition. So there is there is no single definition of wetlands. In earlier years, some scientists have given nice definitions of wetlands. Nice in the sense they reflect the major characteristics of these ecosystems. These ecosystems are well known as very dynamic ecosystem. Just keep in mind, dynamic because they keep on changing. You know, they have variable characteristics throughout a year. That's why they are called dynamic ecosystems. So there is a scientist called Maltby who said that wetland is a collective term for ecosystem whose formation has been dominated by water and whose processes and characteristics are largely controlled by water. Then Cavardine et al. Of United States gave another wetland definition in 1979. He said that wetlands are the lands of transition between terrestrial and aquatic system, where the water table is usually at or near the surface of the land, or land is covered by shallow water. Currently in United States, US Fish and Wildlife Service has also given one big or comprehensive definition of wetland. We will see that later on. That definition is based on this particular definition given by Cowardin et al. 1979, which I just mentioned. And there is one biologist called Smith who defined wetlands in 1980. He said that wetlands are a halfway world between terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, and they exhibit some of the characteristics of each. Okay, so they are halfway world. So these are the three nice definitions about wetland to have a basic understanding about them. But now, after this, I will give two definitions of wetlands, which are famous worldwide. One is wetland definition given by US Fish and Wildlife Service, and another definition, which I will come to that later, and that definition is by Ramsar Convention. Okay, so let us first see what US Fish and Wildlife Service says about wetland or wetland definition. It's a comprehensive definition. It says that wetlands are lands transitional between terrestrial and aquatic system, where water table is usually at or near surface of the land, or the land is covered with shallow water. Okay, wetlands are lands transitional between terrestrial and aquatic systems, where water table is usually at or near surface of the land, or the land is covered with shallow water. A watery land area qualifies as a wetland if it satisfies one or more of the three attributes. So in the next slide, I have mentioned those three attributes, but let us see first through this picture, what is this word called transitional between terrestrial? What about this phrase rather, transitional between terrestrial and aquatic system? See, can you see this blackish patch here? It is a, I think, Google Earth image, and here you can say a big black water body, and that is Gulf of Cambay of Gujarat. Okay, so it's a more or less permanent water body, pure aquatic system, and here all you can see the land. Okay, so this is the aquatic system, pure aquatic permanent system, and this is all land. And here there is a small black patch, which is actually a big lake of Gujarat, and that is called Nal Sarovar. Its area is about 121 square kilometer. It's a shallow water lake, natural lake. So that is located between terrestrial uplands, right on the north, and this Gulf of Cambay in the south. So this particular lake, which is a true wetland, natural wetland, it is transitional between this this upland and this pure aquatic system of Gulf of Cambay. So this is the best example of transitional position, and that's why it is a wetland. Okay, so this was about. I would be explaining each and every term of these two important definitions of wetland: U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Ramsar Convention. Okay, so I explained about what is this transitional thing. Okay, let us take the next slide. I had read that this definition says that an area should satisfy one of the three attributes to be qualified as wetlands. And which are these attributes? Number one, at least periodically, the land predominantly supports hydrophytes, at least periodically, not throughout the year, but at least periodically, maybe for 6 months or 4 months, something like that. The land predominantly supports hydrophytes. Okay, what is hydrophytes? Hydrophytes mean aquatic plants which are adapted to live in the wetland condition, watery conditions. Okay, so they cannot live outside those conditions. Okay, so they are aquatic plants and they are called hydrophytes. Hydro means water and phytes means plants. Okay, there are 2-3 types of hydrophytes as per their habit. one is emergent hydrophytes, in which the simplest example is Typha, okay, and Typha angustata, or new name is, I think, Typha domengenesis. And then there is various types of sages. Okay, they belong to family Cyperaceae. So emergent hydrophytes. Then there are submerged hydrophytes which remain under the water surface, like Hydrilla and Vallisneria and all those things. So they are all hydrophytes, submerged hydrophytes, and there are some hydrophytes which remain free floating on the water surface, and they are plants like water hyacinth, then duckweed or lemna, etc. There are some plants like water lily and lotus, which are which have their roots anchored in the bottom mud of the wetland. They are under the surface of water, but the leaves keep floating on the water surface, and their flower is also seen above the water surface. So there habit-wise, there are 2-3 categories of hydrophytes. So I was rather discussing first attribute of the wetlands. At least periodically, land predominantly supports hydrophytes. Second thing, the substrate is predominantly undrained hydric soil. So now, what is hydric soil? Hydric soil is a special type of soil where which is formed due to frequent flooding or frequent inundation, or very simply calling frequent ponding. Okay, the soil which is less exposed to air but more exposed to water, and due to that, what happens? Due to that frequent flooding or inundation, the oxygen between two soil particles is replaced by water. Okay, so atmospheric oxygen is replaced by water. That water may have again dissolved oxygen, but that atmospheric air does not exist in wetland soil between the two soil particles. Okay, so that kind of special soil is called hydric soil. It's a micro environment is rather anaerobic, not completely, but at least partially. So this is a different type of special type of soil where in the wetlands, and these hydric soils are such that once water comes on that either through rain or stream, it cannot easily go into the groundwater. So it is not easily drained, So water accumulates there. So these are some characteristics of hydric soil. Okay, and third thing is the third attribute is the substrate is non-soil, that is saturated with water or covered by shallow water at some time during each year. So you would say, what is this non-soil? Non-soil means you might have heard about the peatlands. Peat means if due to decomposing aquatic vegetation or any kind of vegetation, once the plants die, they accumulate on the in the basin, and they cannot be completely decomposed, and they go on accumulating. So that accumulated organic matter is called peat. Okay, so it is not a soil; it is a dead plant matter, and that's why it is called substrate is non-soil, that is saturated with water. So these are the three attributes, and as per the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it is not necessary that all the three attributes must be satisfied to define one area as wetland. If any one of these attributes can be, or rather is satisfied, then also that particular wetland, that particular area can be called wetland. Okay, so this was all about the definition of wetland as per U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Again, I want to explain one more thing. If you remember, in that definition, that is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service definition, there was a phrase or other more than one phrase that where water table near and at the land surface. So let me go back. Wetlands are land transitional between where water table is usually at or near surface of the land, okay, or land is covered with shallow water. So I want to explain this last two lines where the water table is usually at or near the surface of the land, or land is covered with shallow water. So what does that mean? Okay, so let me explain it through this simple diagram. This first diagram on the upper left, it shows the condition that water table is near the land surface. This is the water table, okay, blue colored column, water table, groundwater you can say, and this green is the land surface. So this forms the water table here, and it is near the land surface. It does not reaches the land surface, but it is definitely near. There is this small gap here, so it is called water table is near the land surface. Okay, this is one condition. In this second simple diagram, you can see that all this blue portion is water table, okay, groundwater, and here the water table coincides with the land surface. Okay, so this is the condition at, that is water table is at the land surface. Okay, not here. Here is again it is near the land surface, but if you concentrate on this portion only, then it reflects the condition that water table is at the land surface. Okay, and then there is third condition: surface of the land is covered by shallow water. You again, let me go back to the definition again. Water table is usually at or near the surface of the land, or the land is covered with shallow water. So this particular picture shows the condition that here is a shallow water, there is a thin layer of water, and it covers the land. Land is there, but it is covered with the shallow water. So I have completely explained this the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service definition, along with those specific terminologies like what is at the land surface, what is near the land surface, and what do they mean by land covered with shallow water. I also explained three attributes, right? So that was all about U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service definition, which is not very popular in India, which is of course the people who are working in the area of wetland conservation and research, they definitely know this definition, and they value this definition very much. But in India, this definition is more famous, and it is widely used definition, and it is the definition given by Ramsar Convention. We will later on discuss what is this Ramsar Convention, but let us first see the definition. It says that areas of marsh, fen, peatlands, and water that is natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with water that is static or flowing, fresh, brackish, or salt, including the areas of marine waters, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meter. Okay, let us forget this duplication. So, which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. Okay, so that is the definition of Ramsar Convention, the definition given under Ramsar Convention. So, you will immediately notice that this is a rather habitat-oriented definition. They have covered marsh, fen, peatlands. All these are kind of habitats, and water that is natural or artificial. I will explain this term again. So it is said that this is a very broad definition. Misch and Gosling, they are considered as fathers of wetland science, and they have written a very nice book called Wetlands. That's all. The name of that book is Wetland, and many editions have been published of this book. and those who are interested in wetland science should definitely read that book. It should be with you as a Bible or Gita. Okay, so Miss Chen Gosling were very well-known figures in the area of wetland science. They say that this is a very broad definition. They also say that it has been developed out of the sole desire to embrace all waterbird habitat types. Why? See, you just focus on this phrase, depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. Now, you must be knowing that wetland ducks, wetland ducks are of different types. Some ducks are seen on shallow water wetland or inland wetland, but there are also sea ducks. And these sea ducks are typically diving ducks. They dive under the water surface, and they usually do not go beyond 6 meters diving. And to take care of their maximum limit of diving, they have mentioned this depth criterion. Okay, so that's why they have mentioned here. They have commented here that it has been developed out of the sole desire to embrace all water habitat types. It can be fresh water or it can be coastal waters. Okay. As I said, that this is a habitat-oriented definition that does not include in itself hydrology, vegetation, soil, etc., which was all of these things were covered under U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service definition. Okay. By the way, what is fresh, what is brackish, and what is salt? Okay, I have just put here a question mark for you and for humanity as well as for all these wild animals and plants. Thank you very much.